Hello friends and Level 10 Church. It's nice to catch up with you again, and I hope you've had a week that's gone well for you. I've often thought how patient British people are. We stand in queues at the supermarket without grumbling. We never queue jump or try and elbow our way in front of others. We sit patiently in traffic jams and rarely lose our cool. There is something about the British people where there's a patience when it comes to having to wait for things. How often have you been on a car journey with your children and they've asked this question, "Are we there yet?" Or, "How much longer is it, Mum? Dad, when will we arrive?" Sometimes children find it very difficult to contain their excitement on a journey and to understand how things take time. How long is of course a question we all ask at times, and I guess we've all been asking it either out loud or in our hearts and minds concerning this pandemic. How long will this go on for? As we find things being tightened up again, we do wonder how long it will continue. The Chancellor of the Exchequer said this week that we've got to live with it and live without fear. And I think there's wisdom in that. But how do you live without fear if you don't have faith? This question of how long is an ancient one, because in the Bible, many of the men and women of old asked the same question. God actually said it to Samuel on one occasion when he had decided that Saul was no longer fit to be king of the people of Israel. And God said to Samuel one day, "How long will you mourn for Saul?" He then instructed Samuel to fill his flask with anointing oil and go and find David and anoint him to be the next king. And then David, many, many years later, he prays in anguish and he says, "Oh Lord, how long will it be before you heal me? For my bones are in agony and I am in anguish." And the psalmist in that famous psalm, Psalm 119, he says, "How long must your servant wait? When will you punish my persecutors?" Sometimes we feel very tested. Sometimes we feel that other people seem to get the better of us and we wonder how much longer it might go on. Perhaps there's a boss at work who seems to treat you unfairly, or neighbours that seem to be very uncharitable towards you, and you can say within your heart, "How long will this kind of pain and frustration go on in my life?" Jeremiah the prophet, he said, "How long will the land lie parched and the grass in every field be withered?" And then the prophet Habakkuk, he prays and says, "How long, O Lord, must I call for help and you don't listen?" Some of these characters in the Bible experienced many of the frustrations that you and I often go through when we face this question, how long is something going to continue for? So how do we manage the how longs that we all face in life? Well, the book of James gives us three very clear guidelines as to how to deal with the how longs that are part and parcel of everyday life. First of all, we have to have perseverance. In other words, we mustn't give up. And James uses the example of that great man of perseverance in the Old Testament, Job. He said, "We consider blessed those who have persevered." You have heard of the perseverance of Job and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. Why? Because the Lord is full of compassion and mercy. Job was faithful throughout all of his suffering, and God in the end rewarded him for his faithfulness. So perseverance is something that's important during those times of the how long. But then also prayer is important. We must never stop talking to God, never stop bringing our requests to him, even if it's the same request day in, day out. Because as James says, the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. Elijah was a man just like us, had the same emotions and frailties and frustrations, but he prayed earnestly that it would not rain, and it didn't rain for 3.5 years. Then he prayed again, and the heavens opened and gave rain and produced crops in the land. So prayer is important, but also, of course, finally, patience. We have to wait God's time. And James again reminds us, he says, be patient until the Lord comes. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, and how patient he is for the autumn and spring rains. You too must be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. So whatever how longs you are grappling with at this particular time in your life, remember to persevere, to continue to pray, and to be patient, because God will faithfully answer your how longs in his time.